Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on when you're watching this. So, you should have already watched previous lessons on how to find slope through graph and through a table. Now we're going to be using an actual formula. And the formula is going to be right here, and it is m equals change in y over change in x. And what that means is you're going to have a y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Of course, we got to read the directions. So find the slope of a line that passes through the ordered pairs 2, 1 and 3, 10. Now, this is how we're going to label them. So obviously this is our x and our y. This is an x and a y. Now, the reason that we have that x or the y2 and y1 and the x2 and x1 is because this is our first ordered pair. So this is going to be x1 and y1. And then our second ordered pair, x2 and y2. So we're going to go ahead and just literally plug and chug. I'm going to recommend you use parentheses because I think it's easier, especially when there are negatives included. But again, m, or slope, equals change in y over change in x, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when we do this, I'm going to color coordinate it with our x's and our y's. So I'm going to take my y2, which is 10, and I'm going to put it in a parenthesis. I'm going to subtract my y1. So I'm going to have now a 1 in there. And I put it over my x's, which I'm going to put blue, and I'm going to have my x2, which is 3, minus my my x1, which is 2. And I need to make sure I put that subtraction in. And then we're going to go ahead and just simplify that. So 10 minus 1 is 9, and 3 minus 2 is 1. And then you always, always, always have to say, can I simplify this? And again, fractions are another way to write a division problem. So 9 divided by 1 is just 9, which is our slope. And I'm going to put that up for my answer. And then to kind of show you visually, this is how it's going to look. So if I plotted my points, if I plotted my points, and I have 2, so 2, 1, and then I have 3, 10. I would draw my line through there, right? And in the graphing of the ordered pair, finding the slope through the graph, we would count up, so our rise and then our run, which is our rise is 9 and our run is 1. So again, when we divide that equals 9. So 9 equals m, which is what we have right here. So again, it's just another way of finding it, and this is based off of just 2 points, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. If we have to read the directions, so of course find the slope of a line that passes through the ordered pairs -4 and 2 and 5 and 6. So again, I'm going to label these, so x and y, and then we have our first ordered pair, and then our second ordered pair. So again, plug and chug. So I have my formula, which is change in y over change in x, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then let's plug and chug. So our y2 value is 6. So I'm going to put that in parentheses. Again, that's just an easier way for me to know I'm using the right signs. And then our y1 value, which is 2, and we put it over our change in x. So our x2 value is 5. We subtract that with our x1 value, which is -4. Again, this is why I put them in parentheses, because sometimes we get confused and we assume that minus is already included, and that would give us a different answer, right? Because when we subtract a negative, it's like adding a positive. So I'm going to simplify this, and I know 6 minus 2 is 4. I know 5 minus a -4 is basically like 5 plus 4, which is 9. And then I'm going to say, can I simplify this? Well, 4 divided by 9 doesn't go evenly, so I would get a decimal. So we are going to leave it as 4 over 9 equals m. And the reason that I wrote it twice is just because I want to make sure for me that I remember, yes, I did simplify it. You don't have to. That's just how I do it. And then I would write it in the answer. So if we are checking this, and I have my ordered pairs, so I have -4, 2, I have 5, 6, and I would draw that linear line. Remember, straight line is a linear line, it doesn't curve. And I find my rise and my run, which my rise is 4 and my run is 9. And that's our answer. So again, we can't simplify it, right? So again, I'm just trying to prove to you that we can find them through different ways. And now I'm going to connect it with the other proof. So if you remember the last lesson and this problem, we're going to just pick 2 random points from these and try it. So I actually have a random generator right here, and I'm going to go ahead and pick just 2 of these ordered pairs. Now, each one in the table is going to be, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's click. The suspense, I'll tell you, it's killing me. All right, so we got 3 for our first one. So we're going to have that ordered pair. Let's go ahead and do the next. Drum roll. And 1. So we have our 2 ordered pairs now. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, kind of prove that this is going to work. So that's from the table, right? Now let's do it with the formula. So we had, and I'm just going to kind of write down our ordered pairs right here. 1, 2, right? Because that was the first one that got randomly picked. And then the second one. So if I have our x and our y, our x and our y, we have now, getting colors mixed up, 1 and 1, because that's our first ordered pair, and then 1 and, 2 and 2. So we are going to now plug and chug. So our formula is m equals change in y over change in x, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then we plug and chug. So our y2 value is 2. Subtract it with our y1 value, which is 6. And we're going to put it over our x2, which is 1, and our x1 value, which is 3. Of course, we got to subtract them. 2 minus 6 is -4. Put it over. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Again, can we simplify that? Well, negative 4 minus negative 2 is just, I'm going to simplify it to 2 over 1, which could then be just 2. So 2 equals m. And that is going to be kind of how that works. Now, if we look at the graph of what we did before, I put in the ordered pairs. I drew my straight line. I have my rise and my run. The rise is 4, the run is 2. So, when it simplifies, we get 2 equals m. Well, isn't that what we got here? And what we got on the table. So again, that's proof that it works for all three. Now, the order doesn't necessarily matter, okay? And I'm going to prove that. So if we would have picked these two, it would have, and switched it, we still could have done that. But what I mean by the order is this. I'm going to try to keep both of these in the frame. Let's say I did m equals the change in y over change in x. But instead of doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, if I did y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2, the important part is keeping the actual order pairs vertical with each other. Okay, that is the most important part. And let's prove it. So when I plug and chug, my y1 value is 6. Put in parentheses, my y2 value is 2. And I'm going to put it over my x1 value, which is 3. Subtract it with my x2 value, which is 1. So 6 minus 2 is 4. And 3 minus 1 is 2. When we simplify that, that's 2 over 1, and 2 divided by 1 is just 2. So again, they are very, very similar. And actually, the reason that it works is because it's just the opposite, right? And if you notice, these two, -4 and -2, which is what we got in the first one, and then a +4 and a +2. But they both turn out to be the same simplified version. And that's the important part. And if you remember in the graph, so right here, we have that, if you look at the original, so let's back that up. See how now we have that rise of 2, run of 1, rise of 2, run of 1. Okay, it just depends on which points you pick, but that's why I was talking about simplifying stuff prior. So, that being said, hopefully you wrote down notes. Hopefully this makes sense. Maybe rewatch it, maybe ask me questions, but go ahead and do the activity. And then, of course, let me know if you do have any questions. And yeah, have a good day. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. Bye.